The police called it a tragedy of architecture and fate. They saw a pale, silent girl with ice-blue eyes clutching a broken violin, neck and assumed she was catatonic from the accidental poisoning of her father. They moved her to the St. Jude's Home for Children, a grey stone fortress on the edge of the industrial district. They thought they were saving her. They didn't realize they were bringing a wolf into a pen full of sick sheep. The orphanage was split into two distinct worlds, separated by a narrow paved courtyard. On the left was the dormitory wing, a cold, damp building where the children were packed into rows of iron cots. On the right, 30 yards away, was the administrative block. It was a different world entirely. Plush carpets, mahogany desks and the heavy scent of expensive cigars. The director, a man with a soft voice and eyes like cold grease, ran the home as a front for the same syndicate that had supplied Myra's father. While the children starved on watery porridge, the administrative block hosted private dinners for the city's elite. Myra watched the black cars pull up at night. She saw the men enter that building with hungry eyes. The rats hadn't died in the house. They had just moved to a bigger nest. Every night, Mira sat on her bed in the dormitory, her eyes fixed on the lit windows across the yard. She saw the silhouettes of the rats moving behind the curtains. "They're hurting them, little bird," Margaret's memory whispered in the dark. "Just like they hurt me." Clean the cage. Myra spent weeks in a silent, predatory crawl. She learned which floorboards creaked. She learned where the maintenance shed was. And most importantly, she found the industrial kerosene stored for the winter heaters. It happened on a Tuesday, the anniversary of the day her violin snapped. Mira waited until the administrative block was full. The owners were all there for a monthly meeting. She moved through the shadows of the courtyard, a small shadow with a heavy canister. She didn't touch the dormitory. She didn't want the children to burn. She wanted them to watch. She soaked the foundations of the administrative block. She trailed the kerosene up the wooden porch and into the basement vents. She moved with a terrifying, rhythmic grace, as if she were composing a symphony of gasoline. Mira didn't run. She walked back to her room in the dormitory wing. She climbed into her bed, pulled the thin wool blanket up to her chin, and sat upright. She leaned her forehead against the cool glass of the window, her eyes reflected in the pane. She struck a single match and dropped it out the window onto the trail she had laid. The fire didn't just burn. It screamed. Because the buildings were separate, the children were safe. But they were all awake. 100 orphans stood at their windows, their faces lit orange by the destruction of their tormentors. Mira didn't blink. She watched the administrative block become a pillar of salt and flame. She watched the silhouettes of the rats, scrambling behind the reinforced glass of the director's office. She watched the roof collapse, burying the syndicate in the ashes of their own greed. She felt a deep, humming warmth. This wasn't a crime, it was art. She was purifying the earth, and the fire was her first standing ovation. When the sirens finally cut through the night, the firemen found the children huddled in their wing, terrified. But they found Mira exactly where she should be, tucked into her bed, staring out the window with shock in her eyes. The administrative block was a blackened husk. No records survived. No rats survived. A month later, a wealthy, childless couple friends of her late mother's estate saw the beautiful, tragic prodigy in the news. They saw a girl they could heal. They adopted her, bringing her back into the world of silk and medicine. Myra stood by the penthouse window, the reflection of the city, lights dancing in her eyes like the ghosts of that orphanage fire. Anna was behind her, her hands sliding under Myra's silk robe, her breath hot against Myra's neck. "You watched them burn from your bed," Anna whispered, her voice thick with a dark, worshipping lust. "You sat right there and watched the world turn to ash." Myra turned, grabbing Anna's hair and pulling her head back to look into those dark, obsessed eyes. I didn't blink because I wanted to see the exact moment the light left their eyes. That's the only time they're clean. Anna smiled, a wild, jagged expression. Then make me clean, Myra. Burn me with everything you have. The rain had turned into a relentless, rhythmic drumming against the penthouse glass, sealing the world away. Inside, the air was heavy, with the scent of expensive bourbon and the metallic tang of the blood still drying on Myra's knuckles. Myra stood by the window, her surgical shirt unbuttoned, her back to the room. She felt the glitch vibrating in her chest, a dissonant chord of memory. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the orange glow of the orphanage fire, and then the bruised, beautiful face of Margaret. Anna didn't wait for an invitation. She was a shadow that moved with a frantic, obsessive energy. She crossed the room, her bare feet silent on the marble, and slammed into Myra's back. Her hands weren't gentle. They were clawing, desperate, as she wrapped them around Myra's waist, pulling her back into the heat of the present. "You're still there, aren't you?" Anna hissed against Myra's skin, her breath a hot, jagged rasp. "You're still in that bed, watching the fire. You're still looking for her." Mira spun around, her eyes flashing with a predatory, lethal light. She grabbed Anna by the throat, not to choke, but to pin her. She was the only thing that wasn't rot, Anna, and they turned her into a tool. They turned her into a corpse. Anna's dark eyes didn't flicker with fear. They glowed with a terrifying, religious ecstasy. She leaned into the pressure of Myra's hand, her head falling back, her straight raven hair spilling over Mira's arm. "Then turn me into her," Anna breathed, her voice a ragged prayer. "Use me as the vessel. If you need a body to hold your grief, take mine. If you need someone to burn, let it be me. I don't care if I'm just a ghost to you, Myra. I just want to be yours." The tension that had been building since the operating room, since the garage, since the first moment Anna saw the wolf under the white coat, finally snapped. It was a collision of two wild animals. Myra didn't kiss her with love. She kissed her with a desperate, crushing hunger. It was rough, unfiltered, and visceral. They didn't make it to the bedroom. They crashed onto the cold marble floor, a tangle of silk and frantic skin. Myra's touch was surgical and savage. She explored Anna's body with the hands of someone who knew exactly where the nerves lived, where the pain turned into a scream. And Anna took it all, her nails digging into Myra's shoulders, her eyes never leaving Myra's face. In the heat of it, Myra's mind blurred. For a split second, the raven hair under her fingers felt like the soft, floral-scented hair of Margaret. The desperation in the room felt like the smoke of the orphanage fire. "Margaret," Myra whispered, the name escaping like a jagged shard of glass. Anna didn't flinch at the name of another woman. She pulled Mira down, her mouth finding Myra's ear. "Yes," Anna whispered, her voice thick with a psychotic devotion. "Be the monster she needed. Be the fire that saves me. I'll be whatever you want, Mira. I'll be your first love. I'll be your last kill. Just don't stop." When the fever finally broke, they lay in the shadows of the living room, the city lights reflecting off their sweat-slicked skin. Myra looked down at Anna. The nurse's hair was a mess. Her lips were swollen, and the beauty mark beside her eye looked like a dark star in the dim light. Anna looked up at her, a slow, triumphant smile spreading across her face. She looked scary and beautiful, a girl who had finally found her God. "You're not a doctor anymore, Myra," Anna murmured, her hand tracing the sharp line of Myra's jaw. "You're just the storm, and I'm the only one who knows how to dance in the rain." Mira felt a cold, grounding peace. The glitch was silent. For the first time in 20 years, she wasn't alone in the dark. She had a devotee who didn't want to fix her. She wanted to fuel the fire. "If I keep going," Myra said, her voice returning to its lethal, clinical calm, The world will come for us. The police, the syndicate. They won't stop until we're ash. Anna leaned up, kissing the pulse in Myra's throat. Then let's give them a masterpiece before we go.
Walking slow, spotlight finds me cooler than the crowd. I move like I'm free. No competition, I set the tone. Every glance says I'm not